We got a story as old as time, basically, just Bitcoin versus the government, and this has been the topic of discussion for the last few years. It seems like just the government hating everything about Bitcoin because it takes away their power of money and trying to do everything in their power to ban it or extremely limit it. And we already know that's not really possible. China is obviously one of the most dictator states in the world, able to basically control everything and anything in their country, and they still can't ban Bitcoin, even though they've tried multiple times. So, not too worried fundamentally for Bitcoin, but there's back in the news with Elizabeth Warren wanting to ban Bitcoin because it's just such a threat. And her bill is pretty crazy because what she's trying to do is just impose more regulations on the wallet industry of you being able to self-custody, because that's the real trouble here. They don't want you to hold your own money. You don't hold your own money in your bank account. You might think that's your money, but it's the bank's money. It's not yours. If you tried to take it all out, they wouldn't let you. So this is her bill. Basically, some things coming from it, saying her bill massively expands the Bank Secrecy Act, imposing bank-like KYC rules on non-custodial software products, including FOSS, and it's gaining steam with 5 new co-sponsors, saying this would be disastrous for Bitcoin and crypto in the US. Now, honestly, I do think it would not be a good thing. Obviously, it would stifle a lot of things, but it would not be the end of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin fundamentally doesn't care, right? It operates how it does. You cannot stop someone from creating a wallet and using these wallets. You're just going to become completely unpopular, right? If you're trying to control people's money and this is going to be blatantly doing that, maybe people will be aware of that and kind of say, this seems a little insane. But some of the parts people are really getting mad or getting up in arms about is this right here. This is talking about the Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act. So obviously you got to have that catchy name that, you're not against money laundering, right? And then they just stuff a bunch of whole different stuff in there. This is them expanding the Bank Secrecy Act here, saying digital asset wallet providers, miners, validators, and other network participants that may act to validate, secure, or facilitate digital assets transactions basically would have to do everything, this bank secrecy stuff, KYC, doing all those requirements, which is pretty much not possible, right? If you have your own wallet and you generate your own wallet, no one can say, who you are. That's not how this system works. You have nodes know exactly who everyone is that's interacting because they're holding up the network. It's just not possible. The things they're saying are insane, and it would be basically trying to outlaw self-sovereignty and holding your own keys, and that's one of the biggest points of Bitcoin. Obviously, the incumbents are terrified of what Bitcoin's doing. They are terrified of what it's coming after them for and shutting down their easy money and their ability to live like kings and do nothing. And now it's coming to an end, and that's the biggest thing that worries them. And hopefully we can do this quicker and get rid of this, because the way they're acting is just so insane. And this triggers other people in the Bitcoin space, like Joe Carlsari, who is a lawyer, obviously responding, saying, can't wait to file this litigation if the bill becomes law, because there's already people poking holes in this and saying, like, this is going to be an easy thing to fight, easy thing to take over. It's not so cut and dry. And obviously, no one's just going to roll over and allow these things to happen. People are going to fight this. Lawyers are already involved here and saying, even if it gets passed, we're fighting it. So it's not something that's set in stone. Obviously, it's still just a bill. And if you look at Elizabeth Warren's track record, it's just not great. She has introduced 305 bills in Congress, and 0 of them have become laws. So obviously not a great track record for her. She doesn't get bills passed, and that's just the typical of any politician, right? It's come up with a catchy name like, save the puppies, and then throw in something completely unrelated that's just insane, and then it gets shot down and say, God, can you believe these other people? They don't want to save these puppies. They're so crazy. And it's just, that's how this game works. I think people are waking up to it, saying, this whole thing is just kind of worthless, and none of them actually do anything. But I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. But people are also saying that This bill is different, right? Her 305 to 0 ratio, this one's different, and this is why. Because it has 13 co-sponsors, including two, I'm assuming that's Republicans. It has the terrorism narrative. They trying to hang it on a must-pass bill, and then razor thin, Republican majority in the House makes it hard to thwart. So maybe people saying this has a chance. I don't know if it really does. I would think this would be super unpopular, right? Uh, Maybe popular with the boomers and then unpopular with everyone else in this country because nobody looks at the government and says they're doing a good job. We got to give them more power, more money, and more control. They are doing it right. So I just don't see this being super positive. I don't see it being something that is going to be passed easily because I would assume it'd be pretty unpopular. And, but it does have the co sponsors, the bipartisan stuff. So maybe it's got a better chance than her 300 and whatever to 0, but it's still not a great chance. So looking at this, obviously it is a bad thing. Nobody wants this to happen, and everyone would want it to just get shut down and thrown away because it's ridiculous. But there's a chance that it becomes law. There's a chance that it goes on, even if that chance is very small. Basically, what this entire bill would be, this sums up. This is the big stuff in here, like addresses a major gap with respect to unhosted digital wallets. That's hilarious because they're making up this term unhosted. It doesn't actually exist. There's no such thing as hosted or unhosted. There's just self-custody, wallets you control and have the private keys to, and then wallets that you don't, like exchanges and stuff. There's no unhosted, like these scary, spooky words to make you feel scared and say, oh my god, these guys, oh my god, they're criminals. Unhosted, like they're making up words to try and make it sound bad, even though unhosted doesn't sound bad, but they're trying to make up these things, make up words that make you feel different because that's how they can push this through to keep the power that they have. And this is basically what it would be, is a de facto ban on self-custody and P2P transactions. Pretty much, right? They want everyone on the exchanges. They want everyone in a centralized place where they can have influence over what they do. If everyone's holding their Bitcoin in Cash App, Robinhood, or Coinbase, then they can have much more control because they can go to those companies and say, shut it down, no withdrawals allowed, don't do this, don't do that, can't interact with these wallets, can't interact with those wallets. They can have more power. But when you're self-custodied and they don't know whose Bitcoin that is, it's pseudo-anonymous, then you have the power and they don't, which is how it should be, but that's what they're terrified of. So we'll see how it plays out. I don't think that this will pass. Her record doesn't show it's great, even though it's bipartisan and has some co-sponsors and stuff. I don't think that it's going to be popular, right? The government is dumb, the politicians are dumb, but they're not that dumb, right? They know that this would not be popular. To ban people from self-custody would not be a popular thing. There'd be a lot of noise made about that and a lot of problems would come for it, and I don't think they're trying to go down that road. We'll see though, right? That's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.